Purple.
You much better? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And how's Emily? Oh. Oh, well, don't do that then. Hi.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the virtual living room of the Game Changer Movement. And here we are. It's Eric Lehman with Antika Lisha, and it is Monday at 3:30 or 3:30-ish Eastern Standard Time, and all over the world at all other times. So here we are. We're continuing this conversation about just what it means to raise digital natives. And what I mean by being a digital native is that there seemed to be this this shift that happened when kids were born into the era where the internet was alive and well, and email and gaming and all things digital were all that kids experienced. I mean, these are kids who don't have any comprehension of what a rotary phone was, or a black and white TV was, or an 8-track tape, or any of these things that, came before the internet. So I just feel it's a really amazing generation, because in truth, we have a lot to learn from them, because they were born into this time with zero resistance to the technology that we, who are considered to be digital immigrants, are learning about through their experience and through our own evolution. So I don't know, what's your experience in that kind of digital divide?
Well, I don't really know anything else besides the fact that my kids can really figure out anything and do anything. And, I have this hair sticking out. Can't have that going on. Have this way of being able to figure out how something works technologically. And it's all just second nature. It doesn't matter. Apple, Mac, PC, like Apple and Mac is the same thing, but PC, and whatever apps it is, whatever games it is, whatever controller they're handed, like within moments they have it figured out, and there's not even a question that goes on. Where I know my mother, and she's like, how do you use this this Netflix thing? I don't know how to turn off the computer. And she's worked on computers, for years. So it's like, what's the gap there? And I'm in between. I like to think of myself, I can usually figure pretty much everything out. I never would have thought that I was technically gifted years ago, but now I've done enough websites and designed enough platforms, I'm like, oh yeah, I can pretty much figure things out. But it's not as intuitive to me as it is to my children at all. Mm-hmm. So is that what we're talking about, Eric?
I think there's that, and I mean, I feel like that's the real point, is that, where's the opportunity in tapping into that intuition? I mean, if we really dive into what evolution is, we get to admit that in some way our kids are better than we are at so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, for us to go from, walking on all fours to walking straight up, someone's kid had to do something better than their dad, I mean, and so, and I feel like, when we resist technology, we sort of put blinders on. And then when we put blinders on, then I feel like the reason why this is sort of a long-winded intro is that then we sort of look at, we kind of write off the whole entire package. So like when that divide happens, we just like say, oh, I'm just not going to know anything about gaming. You know, like I left off at Defender and Stargate, and like none of this stuff matters to me. And like, so I'm not going to even pay attention. I'm not going to invest any time and energy into knowing what my kids are taking in, because, you know, if they have me join them, I'm not going to know what to do with the controller. I have no idea. And I feel like that's what's.
So then we just avoid the entire thing completely.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
well, we do and we don't.
And then we don't really know what they're playing or what they're doing and how they're doing it. So, you know, because our living rooms are short and sweet, like I would really love to pose the question for people to comment on Facebook or join us in the next living room and continue the conversation of how can we let go of the stigma of not being as able and looking good, and allow our kids to teach us enough to know about the games that they're doing, because we're not the intuitive experts.
Yeah, and I mean, and maybe
that's
broaden
a big
the
like.
And I mean, I think that's a great question. I mean, it's so powerful and beautifully humbling. You know, I mean, how many times do we learn in our lives in any real heart scenario that the only way to, I mean, you know, here we are sort of in the healer community, right? And we've learned that we can't heal anyone else. We can just hold the space for somebody to heal themselves.
Right.
And so you know, I mean, like, and that's what I love about all the pieces of art behind me. Like I didn't make those and just infuse healing energy into them and then, you know, that was it. Like we came together as a community, we made these pieces and we healed ourselves in community. And that's what the offering is here. And I feel like that's what is so much the opportunity. And so and if we can truly humble ourselves, because I think there's so much wrapped into this job description of dad, you know, of mom, of caregiver, and we feel like it's got to be this top-down process. And every meditation I have, every guidance I seek, you know, I mean, what do most gurus say? They say, find your inner child and love that person, become that person, you know, live into that youthful energy. I mean, when you hear the Dalai Lama laugh, you know, he doesn't laugh as an 82-year-old, he laughs as a 10-year-old, you know, who just got an ice cream cone, you know. I mean, that's what happens when people who are enlightened, you know, find their way to live into the energy that they were born to live. So I feel if we broaden that question and say, you know, how can I learn from my child? How can I meet my children at eye level, wherever they are, and learn from them and just kind of become an empty vessel and say, I have way less to teach than I do to learn, you know, from this interaction. And I mean, I feel like that's what's bringing, that's why it's taken so long for the game changer movement to evolve, because the first year and a half was basically, how do I listen to what, you know, what's coming back, you know, like what is the feedback saying? And how do I let go of all the expectations I thought it was gonna be about when it first started. I mean, this first piece, this heart, you know, that was the first piece, you know, that was made with a lot of fanfare, and the other pieces took months to make, you know. I mean, 2 or 3 hours a month dedicated in community, and it was
they're bigger too.
What?
They're bigger too.
Well, that's true, and I feel like now we're at a point where, you know, now we know the beauty we can make, and some of the questions that came along the way, and I know we shared some of the, I don't want to say darker times, but the more, I guess I would say heavy, heavy questions. But one of the best questions I remember a 6-year-old asking while we were, cutting a violent video game into pieces and making art. She said, "Why would someone play one of those games in the first place?" Mm. And I was just like, I got goosebumps, and I was just like, "Yay!" And that's when I realized the best time to reach someone with this mission is before they ever get the opportunity to play one of those games in the first place. And so that's why it's just so important to have active conversations with our kids and have them, ask the right questions. And
be there to really answer the right questions and also to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I know when I watch a show or I watch a movie or something, if I'm feeling the sensation of this just isn't right, it's not coming from the right place, the right heart that I want my kids to be in, then we end the show. Then it's over. If we're not doing that with their games, with their apps, then who knows what's really happening? Who knows what they're watching or what they're dancing to or what lyrics they're listening to? I know we got this new app, and it's like these superpower apps. So it's like we can be facing one another and jolt one another. We can jump and disappear. I mean, it's really cool. And, at first glance, it's like, this is really neat. Like, my kids got it in like 5.2 seconds. But luckily for me, like, they still want to play with the apps and play with things and show me how they work. And so I had to go, okay, how do I, what do I do? I push this button, and how do you get it to align, and how do you get it to process, and how do you mix it down? I mean, but they knew in like 5.2 seconds how to get it from point A to point Z and saved to their computer, and then how to make an iMovie out of that with that, like, so then it's part of their music video. So, I think it's really important for us as parents to have that conversation and also realize that just because we're learning something and it's like a second language to us, it's their first language. And to allow this place to be a place where they can feel really significant as they're teaching us about their new app, about their new whatever. Because what's better or more awesome than like teaching your boss something, or teaching your spouse something? If you really respect and look up to your spouse and you get to know something that they don't know yet, it's like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. But your parents are the same way. I love being able to teach my mom stuff, and I'm, nearly 40, and it's still a joy. So I can only imagine when my kids get to teach me something that I don't already know, since they kind of think that I know everything anyway, that it's really rewarding and makes them feel proud and significant within themselves and powerful as well. So just by being able to be open to learning from our kids and have them teach us, we're giving them this place of real significance, real smart, of feeling good of their capabilities. And that will translate into all aspects of their life, I think.
And I mean, it just, when you were sharing about that, it just conjured a memory of my early years in grad school. And I was studying something called program evaluation and planning. And I remember my mom, and I was adopted. So like, so I'm not from the same kind of like bloodline. So a lot of what I was curious about, what I was born curious about, was somewhat foreign to the folks who so graciously took me into their lives. And I remember sitting down at a diner with my mom, and she just said, Eric, I can't leave this diner, this meal with you until I understand what you're actually studying in grad school. And so like, it was just this really great moment of like, she just wanted to like better understand, I mean, so like there were so many, things stacked against our full understanding, because like we don't share this like genetic, kind of family lineage. So already we were beating sort of from a different heart, even though we cared deeply about each other. And that was an early symptom of this deepening digital divide. So I mean, and I'm still learning what program evaluation and planning was and how it relates to the rest of my life, because their generation, my parents' generation, was of the generation where you got a job at IBM and you stayed there until you got the gold watch, and then you retired, and that was your contribution to productivity on this planet. And that was okay. There's no judgments around it, but like, it's just the velocity of what it means to have a career or a path or a professional journey is just, it's exponential. And, I mean, it's just, and what I think I want to spend the next few minutes talking about is just embracing this whole concept of disruption, and creating, in essence, a category called conscious disruption. So, and I feel like you and I are uniquely qualified to host this living room, because disruption was one of the key words in both of our lives. And I was just kind of thinking into this, or feeling into this recently. I was just like, wow, like what makes this movement make so much sense that you and I can kind of, I don't want to say claim it, but can be about this. Because game change is a big deal. Changing our game and being something other than people thought we should be, or we thought we should be, requires disruption. And it almost requires constant disruption, constant reinvestigation, which is why, like, when I first created the Game Changer movement, I was thinking my goal was to get kids off the couch and get them off the game. And now I'm like, no, we got, the more learning, the more listening I did, the more I realized, no, this is too powerful of a platform. So I needed to disrupt my own thinking in order to make room for the true expansion of the Game Changer movement. So I mean, how does that?
I think that is beautiful, and I think it really requires like a whole 15 minutes of living room time for itself. And I have about 30 seconds. So before my next client meeting happens. So I just, being okay with disruption, being okay with allowing a kid to teach us something, being okay with things not being the way that we want it to be, and still being significant as parents, still being confident and secure, and even more so as parents, because then we have room to not be quote unquote perfect, or we have room to change our own game. So maybe next Monday, we'll just put it out there that we'd like to, talk about this platform of disruption and how disruption has fed a good role into your life, and invite you to connect with us on Facebook at the Game Changer Experience, and also check out our Indiegogo platform there. We're also going to be talking, and we can continue this discussion on Shine today, and you can find that link on both of our websites or Facebook pages as well. And you have our names there, so you can look us up and say hi and friend us, and we'd love to talk to you and have you a part of this living room. If you'd like to join us, we are meeting at 3:30 or around 3:30 Eastern Standard Time each and every Monday.
Yay. Sounds great. Well, that's the living room for now, and I think that's what the fun part about what this environment is that we're still figuring it out. And so we put on our calendar from 3:30 to 4, and that's what we get. So bye-bye, everyone, and thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.